Shooting victims and families of the victims of the Club Q shooting have filed 2 lawsuits against El Paso County leaders. The suits allege the county's lack of action on the red flag law led to the shootings. It also says it goes after the club's owners for a lack of security there. The lawsuits come 2 years to the day of the shooting. Our coverage continues as we bring in our 9 News legal expert, Whitney Traylor. So we reported on these lawsuits yesterday, and there are a lot of people involved, and we're wondering what kind of a case they have.
Yeah.
They're suing a lot of people.
Yep.
A lot of groups.
They are suing a lot of people. They're suing, and I think the primary defendants are the club itself, Club Q, saying, hey, you had 5 or 6 security guards, now you whittled it down to 1. Had we had more security, we would have been safe. So that's really the negligence issue. And that's actually a good point, because negligence is predicated on the notion of foreseeability. Is it foreseeable that, hey, if we whittle our security down to 1, that we're gonna have this shooting? And some would argue, yes, because of the increased hate towards the LGBTQ community, you should have anything been ramping up.
Well, that'll be an interesting assessment as far as negligence, but I think most in Colorado are curious about the red flag law and how it is applied county to county, as opposed to the way it was intended, I think, which was to be more of a statewide mandate.
Yeah, well, when this passed in 2019, and essentially what this says, it's the extreme risk protection order, and so it says, look, if you think somebody's a risk to themselves or someone else, you or a family member or police officer can file and have that gun temporarily removed.
Or ask that it be taken,
Ask that it be taken, you have to prove it. It's just like a restraining order. You can go to court and say, hey, here's why I'm concerned. They can issue something temporarily, and then it becomes permanent. Well, what happened here in El Paso County, they said, we're a sanctuary city. We're not going to go after people's guns. And so they had arrested the shooter in 2021 because he was threatening his family and things of that nature. Well, at that point, they didn't put the red flag law on him and take his guns, even though he was clearly a risk. And the police are saying, well, that's because he was arrested and there was a mandatory protection order put on him, so he already couldn't get guns. But that was ultimately dismissed because the grandparents wouldn't testify. So the police may be negligent, is what the argument is.
So in a way, when you bring up just a restraining order, oftentimes people say that's only a piece of paper.
Right.
So many times. It sounds like that in some respects worked that way this way. When the family didn't want to get involved, and then the county doesn't want to enforce the red flag laws, and yet all the signs are pointing to somebody that's going to do something, and talked about doing a mass shooting.
Yeah, that's correct. There were a lot of clearly red flags here, and they didn't do it. Now, in order to prevail against the police, though, they're going to have to prove that had they actually issued the red flag and confiscated his guns, that this shooting wouldn't have happened. So that's still kind of a far leap to make that connection.
2 years down the road, there certainly is media coverage as we hit that mark 2 years out. Is that why this suit was filed this week, or are there statutes of limitations? Are there things that they need to file because of the clock? Yeah,
I'm assuming it's a statute of limitations. So that's probably why. And if so, they've now preserved their right, and they may add defendants later. There may be changes in this, but I'm not surprised. I mean, you're seeing a trend now because there's so many frequent mass shootings. You're seeing people now trying to go after anybody, the parents, law enforcement, the gun manufacturer. And what you're seeing is now we're starting to shape our body of law in terms of where there may be liability, and we're seeing that with some parents.
So sad that you just said that there are so many mass shootings now, that we're shaping law around how mass shootings happen in America, and that's tough to swallow.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that further as well when we get some time, but Whitney, it's always good to chat with you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.